night and you're ready for the day. Siasa Feast is coming your way, where we take a critical analysis of the politics that has been, of that week that has just passed, and how it will be. Remember, today is a big day. We have the resumption of Parliament, and we have the plates full, so to speak, or the entry which is full. We shall be looking at some of the critical issues that Parliament needs to handle right now, especially when we're talking about IBC. And also, we have the issue of the housing levy that has to be debated on the floor of the House as well. We're joined momentarily by Senior Counsel Dr. Otieno Molo, who is a Member of Parliament for Rarieda. We'll be joined also by Okongo Mogini, who is a Senior Counsel, also the Senator of Nyamira. We shall be joined by Farah Malim, who is a Member of Parliament for Dadaab, and Danson Mungatana, who is the Senator of Tana River this morning. We have a full-packed, of course, panel, and we shall be deliberating these issues as well. You get to drive a show with us. You know what to do. You can hit us on X. At KT News is our X handle, and at Dibala in Air, my X handle as well. Let's see how the weather will be. They always say, as I say it here, whatever the weather, we will weather the weather. The legend's last promise is what is holding the front page of the Standard this morning. Gone too soon, marathon record holder spoke to the two people dear to his heart, his father and his wife. He made them a promise that may just be that. To his wife, he vowed to be the first human to run a marathon under 2 hours. To his father, he had bought land and pledged to build a church. Sunday night, the legendary athlete bowed out after being involved in a tragic accident. This story continues on page 2 and 3 of 38 of the Standard today. We continue to mourn Kelvin Kiptum, and 2 hours and 35 milliseconds, that is the world record time Kelvin Kiptum clocked when he broke the marathon record in Chicago on October 8, 2023. He had hoped to lower it further in Rotterdam on April the 14th, but that will never be. And we have reactions here. Samson Cheriot, Kiptum's father, says, "My son had bought land for my local church, IFC. He had promised to begin the construction, but he has left us in a tragic accident." And Eliud Kipchoge, marathon champion, he says, quote unquote, "I'm deeply saddened by the tragic passing of a marathon world record holder and rising star, Kelvin Kiptum, an athlete who had a whole life ahead of him to achieve incredible greatness. I offer my deepest condolences to his young family. May God comfort you during this trying time." That is Eliud Kipchoge. Also, we have Mourning Kiptum. This is the wife of Kiptum. He says, I gave him my full support when he promised to break his own world record. I promised to run affairs at home and encouraged him. And we have also President William Ruto sending his condolences and word of encouragement. He says, Kelvin Kiptum was a star, arguably one of the world's finest sportsmen who broke barriers to secure a marathon record. And Sebastian Coe, World Athletics president, we are shocked and deeply saddened to learn of the devastating loss of Kelvin Kiptum and his coach, Gabais Hakizabana. That is a standard today, paying tribute to Kelvin Kiptum in 1999-2024. And looking also on the teaser on top here, Raila to Ruto, do not touch our security organs. And of course, we'll give you the gritty details about this as well. But you can grab a copy to get also the information on page 5 in today's publication. And 4 people in Divani Triton case set free. Right? This is after the fugitive, after a long while, he's been out of the country. And once he was here, is out on bail, and now the case has collapsed. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Standard. Ivory Coast proves doubters wrong in AFCON. This story continues on page 40 of the Standard. And of course, I will hear from Jabura, Dr. Otieno Molo, who is also the captain of Bunge Football Club here. How was the tournament? Was it up to scratch to his expectation? He's been keeping his eyes peeled, of course, throughout the night sometimes to just make sure he follows the matches. So we will hear from him momentarily. That is the Standard. You can follow the story on page 40 of the Standard. The Daily Nation as well is paying tribute to one of Kenya's finest, tribute to Kenya's rising star, Kelvin Kiptum. At only 24, Kelvin Kiptum was the men's marathon world record holder. Crowned last year on his 3rd major race, he was destined for greatness. But his dream to run the 42-kilometer marathon in under 2 hours, first in open competition, was shattered yesterday when he was killed in a road crash. You have a story on page 2 through 3, 37, 38, and 39 of the Daily Nation this morning. And e-citizen nightmare. It was meant to ease access to public services by enabling Kenyans to apply and pay for them at their convenience using their mobile phones or computers, I should say. A noble idea on paper, but the e-citizen plan is now characterized more by patients waiting hours on end to see doctors, car dealers unable to register and transfer ownership of vehicles, and banks battling similar NTSA registration hurdles. The red tape just got worse. And this story is on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. It was supposed to make things easier, but it seems also the dead hand of bureaucracy is tangling it. You can follow the story inside the Daily Nation. Kenha errors. Kenyans slapped with 3 billion shillings bail. Dozens of Jubilee-era projects have stalled, exposing taxpayers to more charges. That story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. Road agencies charged 3.4 billion shillings in interest for delayed payments. This is according to audit report there. And gross, better wash the food you eat thoroughly. Right, this is how the current state of affairs is as far as public health is concerned. This is Filthy Markets. Traders carry on with their activities near a heap of uncollected garbage at Mudhurwa Market. Traders navigate muddy roads at Kangemi Harambe Market, a section of dilapidated Kangemi Harambe Market. That story continues inside the Star this morning, and you can grab a copy for yourself. It's a privilege to fly the pride of Africa, KQ, Bo says. And it says, on February 7th, 1977, a metallic bird wrapped in Kenyan flag colors flew from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Heathrow, London. It has never stopped and now goes to 42 destinations globally. The story of Kenya Airways, or KQ, as it's known by its international code, is complex. And you can follow the story on page 11 of the Star this morning. Giant 30 billion shillings hospital on the verge of collapse. This is Medihill Group of Hospitals is on the verge of collapse due to serious financial challenges. The hospital, valued at 30 billion shillings with 5 branches, with its headquarters in Eldoret, is one of the best equipped and has been one of the fastest growing chain of medical centers. You have a story on page 2 of the Star. And Sikh woman who killed child saved from going to jail. Read all about it on page 9 of the Star this morning. You can grab a copy for the rest of the details there. Congestion headache in top schools. That is a splash on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Institutions forced to use offices, laboratories and tents as classrooms after high number of students report to Form 1 in campaign to meet 100% transition target by ministry. That is a story you want to follow on page 4 of the People Daily this morning. Also, World Mons Marathon champion Kiptum, runner and his coach killed in night accident on their way to training camp. That is a story that you want to follow inside the People Daily this morning. And MPs signal new battle on housing levy. That is a story that you can follow on page 8. We shall run you by that particular story also momentarily inside the conversation that we'll be having with the panelist. It's Ali's Valentine's for thickened magistrates. That is on page 3 of the People Daily. This is a business daily. New Eurobond seen easing pressure on domestic debt interest rates. Treasury now selling fast Eurobond since June 2021. And banks warn high interest rates could trigger defaults. That is the story you want to follow inside the Business Daily this morning. And it says Kenya's return to the international bond market yesterday is set to relieve pressure on local lenders to finance the budget deficit for the current fiscal year, signaling a potential retreat in domestic debt interest rates that have climbed to 18%. The Treasury is selling its first Eurobond since June 2021, when it floated a 12-year paper that raised $1 billion. And you can read the rest of the details on page 3 of the Business Daily this morning. Prime office rent flat as oversupply hurts recovery boom. Prime office rent flat as oversupply hurts recovery boom. Prime office developers kept their asking rents flat even as occupancy rates increase, making investors in commercial spaces miss out on the double-digit returns being witnessed by the peers in other segments of the real estate. You can follow the story inside the Business Daily. On the sidebar, we have CBK projecting 734 billion shillings inflows on foreign investors. The Central Bank of Kenya expects 733.9 billion shillings in foreign flows into the economy this year. UK firms to invest 4.6 billion shillings in Malindi's solar battery storage. And why? Nairobi Security Exchange listed firms are snubbing bonus shares. Firms listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange last year avoided bonus share schemes to shareholders as value of investors' wealth on the bourse dropped by 27.5%, or 547.06 billion shillings. This is a story that you want to follow inside the Business Daily this morning. Nyota ya Kenya yazima. This is what we have on Taifa Leo. And across the border, we have Daily Monitor. Hackers target banks, telecoms. This is all about cyber attack. Government kicks off investigations into report that a group of hackers called Anonymous Sudan was behind the plot. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Daily Monitor this morning. Also the sidebar, World Mons Marathon World Record holder Kiptum. That is also splashed on the front page of the Ugandan Daily. And also man knocks son dead in freak accident. That is on page 5 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. On top here, the victims of Kayunga machete gangs. One person has been killed and 11 others nursing injuries after being attacked by some machete-wielding gangs in 2 sub-counties in Kayunga district. That is all tucked away inside today's Daily Monitor. Those are your dailies. I shall be running you by some of the international publications also on the split in our screens as we continue with the conversation pace here. You're watching Siasa Fiesta, holding court this morning, as I mentioned, with Dr. Otieno Molo, who's the Senior Counsel, also the Member of Parliament for Arieda. Also, we're joined by Kongo Omogede, who's the Senior Counsel, and also the Senator of Nyamira, Danson Mungatana. We are eagerly awaiting them to join us, and Farah Malim as well. But let's just begin with that story that began yesterday, and we continue to see reactions and also condolences pouring in, where athletics fanatics And Kenyans in general are in mourning following the death of men's marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum and his Rwandan coach Gavais Akizamana, who reportedly died on the spot along the Eldoret-Eldama Ravine Highway following a fatal road crash on Saturday night. Elvis Koske has more.
A somber mood after the family and friends of Kelvin Kiptum Cheruyot, a long-distance runner and the marathon world record holder who shot to fame at the Chicago Marathon as the fastest marathoner, died on the spot along the Eldoret Ravine Highway. His widow, Asenet Kiptum, tearfully narrates their last moments.
After kuwa maturua tuna plan nifungulie business. Na mashamba yake nyabindunua alikuwa na plan kuchenga makorofa and to make our life better. But this is so cruel.
Jana Jumamosi jioni aliambia mimi kwa jikoni kama hata nikukimbia saa hii bila mwili yangu iko nitakimbia kwa 1 hour 59.
Sasa hatuna kwenda mbele na nyuma.
Jeruto is yet to come to terms with the death of her husband, who died in a tragic road crash that also claimed the life of his coach, Rwandan Gavais Akizamana, on Sunday night.
Angevaa tupeleka out na watoto. Akaniambia nimechoka na na plan kwenda mazoezi ya jioni na nasikia kichwa inaniuma. Kamwambia sitaki nikusumbue tuende out tena. Wewe pumzika na umeze Panadol. Kichwa itatulia. Alafu jioni past 7 akanicall. Wakaongea na watoto. Kigen alikuwa anamuuliza saa, akamwambia nilichukua, na saa alikuwa amepea Kigen. Akamwambia nilichukua na nitakuletea kesho.
Huyo ni past born yangu moja, nilizaa moja, alafu shida ikakuwa problem ya bibi yangu. Wakaambia sisi chunga hiyo mtoto peke yake. Sasa Kiptum peke yake ile tulikuwa tunategemea. Sasa chapter ya Kiptum sasa amekwisha, sasa sijui nani atasaidia sisi.
Kiptum, the men's marathon world record holder, was full of promises even during his last moments.
Kama wananchi ya area hii, hii kijana alikuwa anaangalia mbali kabisa. Tulikuwa tumepona kabisa kama hii kijiji ya Kapkenda.
We as Kenyans, we know God will show us definitely. Kama ni vile tu alikufa, wacha alale pema. Lakini kama kuna mkono ama neno la mtu, sisi tutaipata. Na tunajua Mungu atatuonyesha.
This follows the death of Kelvin Kiptum Cheruyot, a Kenyan long-distance runner and the marathon world record holder. He's the only person in history to run the marathon under the 2 hours and 1 minute in a record-eligible race. And I'm now joined by the OCPD just to paint a picture of what has happened. Kindly, Bwana OCPD, asante kwa kujiunga nasi. Kindly tell Kenyans ni nini haswa imefanyika inamhusisha mwanariadha wa bingwa upeo wa kimataifa. Kindly bring us to speed, sir.
Thank you so much again. My name is Abdullahi Dair, OCPD KO South, Elgeyo Marakwet County. The evening of Sunday, towards the end of the Sunday, the late evening, we got an accident along Ravine Eldoret Road involving vehicle registration number KDL 566 Lecter F, make Toyota Premium, blue in color. The occupant of the said vehicle were 3. One believed to be Kelvin Kiptum, Chicago world record holder, and then Gervias Akiba, Rwandese national, believed to be the coach of the late Kelvin Kiptum. And then the third person was a lady Sharon Kiptum, who is still survive. So the accident happened along Eldoret Ravine Road.
Sports Cabinet Secretary Babu Namwamba
who paid a visit to the family of the deceased, said they will accord Kiptum a befitting send-off.
And to assure the family that government will be fully supportive, both with the burial arrangements and also with support to the family from now moving forward.
Na wanaspoti wote, sio wanariadha peke yao, hata wanaspoti wengine wote wametuma rambirambi zao. Jana tulipata hii maneno ambaye ilitustusha sana na hatujalala.
Kama hivyo alikuwa na matumaini kwamba siku moja hata yangetunukiwa. Kama yeye ametuacha, ingekuwa manufaa sana tuangalie wasasi wake.
Kufika town, what I saw was different. I just want to say he was loving.
The athlete remains on Monday, transferred to Eldoret Hospital. He has left a widow, Asenet Kiptum, and 2 children. Elvis Kosgei, KTN News, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Now, sportsmen, administrators and different leaders from the country and around the world have mourned Kelvin Kiptum, who died on Sunday night, led by President William Ruto. They have hailed Kiptum as a heroic athlete who dared to capture the world through sports. Davis Beria has more.
Exceptional race in Chicago.
Athletes, sports managers, as well as political leaders have expressed their sorrow following the death of Kelvin Kiptum. President William Ruto led the nation in his condolences, referring to Kiptum as a star who conquered the world by breaking records in marathon. The president adding that Kiptum has left a big gap due to his ability and unique exploits. Opposition leader Raila Odinga also offered his condolences, terming him as a hero who put Kenya on the world map through athletics. The Ministry of Sports, led by Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba, saying how Kiptum gave smiles to many.
We celebrated him when he was honored as Athlete of the Year among the 6 top athletes in Monaco just a couple of months ago. We were so excited on February 6 when his world record was ratified formally.
Kiptum's demise came at a time when Athletics Kenya Federation had included him in the team to take part in the Paris Olympic Games later this year.
So we in Athletics Kenya, as when we were selecting the team for the Olympic marathon this year in Paris, starting in July to August, you all remember we released the names of 10 men and 10 women, which we were going to look at them and then bring them down to 5-5 and eventually to 3-3. And his name on the male category was the first one.
Athletes, including former world marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge, mourned Kiptum as a young athlete who dared to conquer the world. Meanwhile, Faith Kipyegon explained how they will miss Kiptum in the track. The International Athletes Federation, through its president Sebastian Coe, Kiptum's manager Bob Vabik, and former long-distance runner Mo Farah, expressing their sadness following the death. The world will always remember him with respect and honor everything he fought for. Rest in peace, Kelvin Kiptum Cheriot. Davis Media, KTN News.
Right, and as we continue to mourn Kelvin Kiptum, we just want also to give a sporting chance to our panelists this morning, Otieno Molo and Okongo Mogini, to just also lend their voice to, of course, the dimmed star that has shone so brightly for this country when it comes to athletics. Good morning, Senator Castle. Good to see you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, so yesterday we woke up, breaking news early in the morning, tragic story here, various reactions that we can see. Where were you? How did you receive this message?
Good morning, to our viewers, and I particularly want to condole with the family of Kelvin Kiptum, the immediate family by blood, but also family by athletics, and actually the rest of Kenyans. Kelvin Kiptum was a young man, but very able. And the news of his death caught, I think, everyone by surprise. I was still in the constituency, finalizing some of our issues, especially relating to bursaries, in time to come back to Nairobi for the reopening of Parliament, which is today.
Yes.
And so we were all very shocked to wake up to this kind of news. It is sad because he's died at a very young age, and I believe the best of Kelvin Kiptum was yet to be seen. Everyone is talking about what he had achieved, but it is clear that he was yet to achieve his best, and it's particularly tragic. It speaks again to the state of our roads and the state of our, driving, which includes control of traffic, which includes road signs and all that. All I can say for now is echo what the family was saying, that if it be the will of God, there's nothing that one can do right now. But we need to re-examine the whole infrastructure of traffic regulations and roads and all that. We mourn with the family.
Right. All right. Kongo Mogeni, good morning.
Morning, Debal. I received this news yesterday morning. I was watching the Côte d'Ivoire Nigeria final, but I think that being an international channel, I slept without receiving the news. First, my condolences to the family of Kelvin Kiptum. I love sports, Debal, and I was looking forward to watching Kelvin Kiptum dismantle Ugandans in the marathon in Paris Olympics. So at personal level, I'm really saddened on the loss of Kiptum, an athlete that was going to really fly the Kenyan flag high, an athlete who would have really dominated the marathon scene, conservatively for the next 15, 16 years. If what Kipchoge has done in the marathon is anything to go by. But it's also sad that we lost this young, talented athlete through a road accident, something that most of us say could easily be preventable, Debal. So we must, as a country, also wake up to reality that we are losing many lives through road accidents, more than many other civilized countries. If you look at the statistics, we lost last year alone more than 4,700 Kenyans. Those are lives that would have been, prevented from dying, and that's something that should prick the conscience of the nation. What Senior Counsel Otienda has said, how we manage our roads, how we control traffic. In many countries, this has gone digital. The idea of traffic control and speed is manned in all the highways in most parts of the world. But in Kenya, Debal, you can drive all the way from Nairobi to, even if you went to Nairobi, Kabarak, Eldama Ravine to Eldoret, there are no speed monitors on the highways. I think that is something that CS Transport, Murkomen, should do something about our infrastructure. If you go to Tanzania, you can drive for over 200 kilometers without coming across a pothole. But in Kenya, if you drive from Nairobi, Narok to Kisii, you'll find so many potholes on the road. And even the way we have constructed our roads. In Tanzania, there is a path that has been dedicated to the motorcyclists. And we're using the same contractors on our roads. But it seems in Kenya, we pocket that money, but the Tanzanians have done big investment in ensuring that their roads are functional. So I hope going forward, we will ensure that our speed control on our highways works. We should make it very punitive, and we also need to discourage people driving
at night. Of course, an accident can happen even during the day, but we need to discourage people driving maybe at night. But our sincere condolences to the family.
Thank you.
Of Kelvin Kiptum, to the spouse, to the father, and to the mother, and to the children.
Indeed. Yeah. Right. We were here yesterday also with Danson Mungatana. Thank you for coming up, of course, for today's show as well. I know you paid your tributes so far, but I just want to hear from you as well. The various reactions we had from the Ministry of Sports as well, that now this is going to be given a national heroic send-off, so to speak.
All my heart goes to the wife and the children of the legend who has just passed on. And my prayer is that the government will have an arrangement to support this family, because he was obviously a person to reckon with. And sometimes leaders come together when it's time for mourning, and we say a lot of good things, and after that the widow is left with a heavy burden. The children are left with the loss of father and the support system. So my special appeal today, this morning, having said all the things we have said, is to ask the CS Namwamba if he can take special interest, apart from the normal government things, to actually find out what is the financial status at home. How are the children going to be taken care of? How is the mother going to cope? So to speak, the breadwinner has gone, but this is not an ordinary person. So that we don't have that embarrassment of just leaving the widow and the children to suffer, and yet this is a hero that we are sending off. So I'm asking if there is a way that the CS can actually be personal about this matter. Look at the children, where are they? Look at the wife, where is she? And where can they come in? Even at a personal level, msaidie mama, asimamishe familia ya huyo. That is my prayer.
Indeed. Right, thank you. All right, we want to go to the corridors of justice, where a Nairobi court has acquitted businessman Yagnesh Devani and 4 others. My autocue is acting up on me. 4 others in a USD 365 974 Triton saga after 22 years. The court on Monday said the prosecution failed to prove fraud claims against the accused. Here's that story prepared by Alois Mikhail, voiced by Ivy Kariuki.
Devani was charged for stealing 318 metric tons of jet fuel after being on the run since 2008, when he is said to have committed the offense. It is believed he struck a deal with top government officials in 2023 to leave London for Nairobi. In the deal, Devani was allowed to fly to Kenya despite the warrant in place and take plea ahead of the planned prosecution. He left for the United Kingdom when his co-accused were charged and the court issued a warrant of arrest against him. He was produced before Senior Principal Magistrate Robinson Ondieki, where he denied 4 charges of stealing. The prosecution told the court that between April 23rd and December 4th, 2008, at Kipevu Oil Storage Facility within Mombasa County, jointly with others before court, he stole 2,000 metric tons of automotive gas valued at $215,934, the property of Kenya Commercial Bank. The court was told between May 15, 2008 and December 4, 2008 at Kipevu Oil Storage Facility within Mombasa County, jointly with others before court, stole over 418 metric tons of motor spirit premium valued at $438, the property of Kenya Commercial Bank. Trial magistrate was further told that between November 2nd, 2008 and December 4th, 2008, Kipevu Oil Storage Facility within Mombasa County, jointly with others, before court stole 12,782 metric tons of automotive gas, oil valued at $7.9 million, the property of Kenya Commercial Bank. The accused was released on a cash bail of $1 million plus one contact person. The criminal case will be mentioned on February 12, 2024 for pre-trial. Divani has been on the run and the case proceeded in his absence. Extradition proceedings were initiated against him, but they were still incomplete at the time the state was closing its case. In 2011, Kenya filed an extradition request to have Divani brought to Kenya to answer charges of defrauding the Kenya Commercial Bank, Emirates National Oil Corporation of Singapore. In 2013, Kenya filed another extradition request alleging Divani had also defrauded the global banking firm Fortis. Overall, he faced 19 counts of financial crimes. Ivy Karaoke, KTN News.
Court acquits 4 persons in one out of many Triton cases. Dismissal of case marks the end of 22-year trial in which Divani was tried in absentia. He was accused of engineering release of company's fuel from KPC storage tanks, just as you've heard from Ivy giving out that particular story. But it raises a question on who really gets to go to the slumbers as far as issues of corruption is concerned, of financial impropriety, a malfeasance that we can see it in this country. How many of the cases have gone down the tubes without anyone being accountable for that matter? We've seen Anglo leasing. We can talk of a golden bag scandals. Is there any justice when it comes to corruption in this country? Let's just begin with you, Otene Molo, especially on this particular case.
Well, the chickens have come home to roost. That would be my summary in terms of response. But first, to put things in perspective, I've not read the actual judgment acquitting the former employees of KCB, but I've read the story in the paper. And so, as it appears, it's not completely true that Divani has been acquitted. What appears to be is that one of the cases in which 2 employees, former employees of the bank, were being tried is the one that was finalized. And it does appear that there are still other cases involving Mr. Divani and other co-accused which are still pending. So that needs to be made clear. That's number one. But that said, number 2, the coincidence of these acquittals and this granting of bail and some of these mentions is quite interesting, and I think it points to a pattern. And the general pattern here is that since this regime took over, there appears to be a series of acquittals of persons either within the country or persons who have not been in the country in a very unique manner. And you see, for an acquittal or a withdrawal of a case, it's not just a question of a decision of the court. It is a question of the decisions of the prosecuting authority, which would be the DPP. It would be a question of the cooperation of the police, because all witnesses basically depend on the police. So if you want to frustrate a case and either result in an acquittal or a withdrawal, it is quite possible, but it takes a whole range of actors. And if you do an analysis since of the last election, which is just barely a year, just slightly over a year, you will find that there's an uncommensurate rate to the timing of cases that have been terminated, withdrawn, or there have been acquittals. If you look at this case, for example, you'd ask yourself, Divani has been on the run for almost 22 years, and the procedures in terms of his extradition were finalized in the UK in 2014.
They were finalized, yes.
Yes. Why would it suddenly, after 10 years, have the confidence to come back, and no one talks about it, to be taken to court quietly, no one talks about it, because once you're on the run, warrants of arrest are issued. So by the time you are being taken to court, you should have been arrested on arrival. kept in the slumbers until the time that you need to be presented in court, when then you explain to the court why you had fled in the first place. So you find that that whole scheme of how he came back, how he was, lying low, and how he was taken to court, immediately granted bail, tells you that it was an arranged scheme. And it can only be arranged from as high a level as you and I can imagine of this regime. Thirdly, these things then speaks to the war on the judiciary by the executive. The need to absolutely control the judiciary. It is clear that there are pockets of the judiciary that have refused to be compromised, and hence the outburst by the president and some of his lieutenants against the judiciary as a whole, and against some particular judges and magistrates specifically. Now, I think that it all boils down to one thing. A regime that is friendly to corruption and people who've been charged with such offenses, a regime that is willing to make deals with such people so that anyone who was on the run would know that now their friends are in power and they are safe to come back.
Right, you did. Kongo Mogini, you've been following the story as well.
Yeah, I think something is wrong with our justice system. I don't think there is any country in the world where you get such high-profile corruption cases being taken to court, and after a lengthy trial, you end up with an acquittal. More worrying for me as a lawyer is the emerging trend, where people are arraigned before court, then subsequently you see change of heart from the prosecution, where cases are withdrawn and suspects are set free. It raises the question that either somebody uses the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions to settle political scores, or the Office of DPP is incompetent, or the Office of DPP is not independent and receives instructions from other quarters. Whichever way you look at it, it means that the spirit of the 2010 Constitution is fast dying. Because what Kenyans had in mind is to create an office that, it was hived off from the Office of the Attorney General, an office that is professional, an office that is independent, an office that will be motivated to act, not to settle or to satisfy some political concerns out there, but to act purely in the best interest of the nation, the bar. So when you see all these things happening, at least we need to see either action being taken against those who may have either taken people to court without evidence, or a whistleblower coming out to tell us somebody is interfering. But really, if we continue this way, I want to pose a question to you. Will Kenyans have confidence in our justice system if this trend continues? The answer is no. We'll be eroding the confidence that Kenyans are supposed to have on that entire justice system. And it will not augur well to us as a country. In fact, the trickle-down effect will be that you can engage in corruption, and then you seek for people in high level to arrange for you to be just set free. That will not augur well for our fight against corruption, and it will boil down to more wastage of our public resources as a country. So I'm a very worried man as a lawyer, as a Kenyan, and I hope this trend really can come to an end.
Right, I can see Honorable Mugatana. Want to say something?
Sometimes I really worry when we try to create a story, out of what transpires in court or in the courts, and then twist it and say the entire justice system is corrupt or it's a scheme of the government. I really worry about those kinds of, blanket condemnations. And nobody's really looking at the facts. What are we talking about in this particular case? First of all, there's misreporting. That misreporting of saying that Devani was acquitted, it is wrong. If you read even a clear reading of that title, it says it is the 4 co-accused persons.
Yeah, but Otieno has just clarified that he's not been acquitted.
No, but the story has been Yagnesh Devani has been acquitted. And in fact, even the way you frame the question, Dibal, is like there are big people who are being acquitted, and then Otiende Omolo, my colleague here, picks it up and says it is this regime, this regime, this regime. So let's look at it carefully. What were the charges for the 4 co-accused? First of all, 2 of them were KCB employees, senior KCB employees. 2 of them were Triton employees working for Devani in that company. Now, what were the charges that were facing them? Failure to prevent a felony. It is like the watchmen who are charged in when a bank robbery takes place. The watchmen who are standing there, they are always told that they have criminal negligence, failure to prevent a felony from occurring. Now, you have to present sufficient evidence to say they actually failed, and they willfully failed. There was intention on their part to refuse to stop that criminal negligence. So I think it is unfair for us to say now, because these ones have been acquitted, there was a plan. There was a plan by this regime. And the same people who are talking like that are the same ones who are saying it has been 19 years since this case has started. These co-accused were tried in the absence of Devani. Devani ran to the UK and sought to stop his extradition bus to Kenya. He lost that battle. And remember, he's just using the provisions of the law that are there. If you are able to do that, you use the law, and he lost. He was brought back. He was brought back to Kenya and was brought back under arrest. In fact, he was at Muthaiga police station, and then he was presented before the court on 23rd of January. All these things are facts which are there. And was charged and was given bail like every other Kenyan. So for someone to say or to imply that there was a plan, these people be acquitted, this man be brought back, then he'll be... No, his case, in fact, has just begun. He has been charged 4 counts of theft, all those things. He has been charged, and his case has not even started because the prosecutor asked for time to present the evidence. Now, you say you've been looking for this man for the last 19 years. He has been extradited. He's been brought to the country. And then you go to court and you say you need time to present the evidence on the side of the defense. You can see what is happening. And then the politicians now, who are lawyers, they pick it up, they cover it, they say it is this regime. It is this regime. And I always wonder what a regime is and what a government is. Whenever you talk about regime, it has that political connotation, like it is not a proper government. Now, I want to appeal to our colleagues, especially those of us who are lawyers. When we are commenting on things that are legal, let's just be fair to the prosecution case, to the defense case. The fact that the money was lost does not, and we all know it is basic criminal law we learn in first year. There's the presumption of innocence. You are innocent until proved guilty. The innocence and the guiltiness of the case depends on the evidence that is presented. We have not even seen the evidence as far as Devani is concerned.
Thank you.
The other 4 accused persons have been released because there was lack of evidence. This other one, the case is on trial. So there's nothing like a plan. This government is committed to the rule of law, as far as I know, and that is what has been happening so far.
All right, let me just hear from Honorable Farah Maalim, and then we'll take a short break. And when we come back also, we look at the reactions that were there, also from the CS, the former CS of Treasury, Henry Rotich, who declined the appointment as a budget policy advisor by the president, and he elects to pursue reinstatement at the CBK, which is his former employer. So what would we say also regarding that particular Aurora and Kimored case, especially we raise the issues to do with the work the sloppy work that has been done by the DPP, and so many cases that has come to fall through the cracks in the hands of the DPP when it comes to prosecution. Farah Malim, good morning. Thank you for joining us again. Yes, you've been following the story of Divani. You know it. I think also you were a member of Parliament during that particular epic of time that it happened 22 years ago.
Nothing surprises me in Kenya when it comes to corruption. And nothing surprises me about any arm of the government. When somebody says that the judiciary is the most corrupt of all the three arms of the government, I fully agree with that. There's no question about that. A lot of money is lost. And then the principal person who is supposed to answer that takes a flight out of this country. He fights extradition for God knows how many years. He's away for all those years and he comes back into the country. When he comes back into the country, then he's given bail. A judge gives him a bail. I don't know, give him a bail. And why? The principle, the main reason why you're denied bail is because you're a flight risk. This man is not a flight risk. Is proved. Is flight himself. You know what I mean?
Yes, proved. He's flight himself.
He's a product. He's a flight product. He's there.
You make a point.
And then you give him that. So anything else that happens, as far as I'm concerned, we tried to disperse power. We tried to assert the independence of every arm of the government, of the state. We did all those things. The reason why we were dispersing power is to make sure that it's not concentrated in a few places, then who determine the outcome always. We wanted to get fairness and justice in the country. All we have done is that we have devolved and dispersed the corruption, period. The judges now have decisional autonomy. They can behave the way they want. They can set their prices the way they want. I mean there's no litigation in courts. It's all about money. It's all about fixings. People are fixers. The fixers are better than the acclaimed, established, brilliant lawyers who have very little business. The people who have business are the ones who can fix cases. So basically, I don't know who has been involved in these things. Whether it's and on the one hand, here there's a war between the judiciary and the executive, because the executive is saying that the judiciary is corrupt. And when it's seen a clear case, prima facie case of a corruption of judiciary by these kind of decisions here, again we then say it's the government that's involved. No, let's place every problem where it is. I do agree. There's a lot of corruption in the government, in the executive. There's corruption in every arm of the government. Parliament is equally guilty. If they do a very serious, thorough forensic audit on the CDF used for the last, God knows how many years, 15 years, you're going to find billions and billions of what you call ghost projects that have been pocketed by people. And members of parliament are definitely guilty. But who is going to do that? Who's going to do that? It's not a question of who's going to bail the cat. It's going to be whoever who has not sinned, let them cast the first stone. You know what I mean?
We should make you the anti-corruption boss.
So who's going to do that? So we have a problem. In this country, we have a problem. And by the way, within our own court system here, unlike other countries in the world, there is no decisional review that's done. You see, when these kind of things happen right now, I'm sure there are a good number of judges, courts of appeal judges, Supreme Court judges, other judges also, who will get a bit disgusted with some of the decisions but there is no internal mechanism in which they can review that and revisit themselves. We don't have that.
Thank you.
You understand my point? So then the way the courts are independent from one another, every judge is an institution unto himself or herself. Everybody can do what he wants. And nobody else can say, look, you're messing the name of this arm of the government. We don't have that. We don't have that internal mechanism within our judiciary right now to look at some of these things and say, no, you're making such a powerful. It's just like in medicine. If there is a medical malpractice, then the specialists come together and say that no, this person has acted in this manner, and this is a malpractice.
Thank you.
And they have a way of slapping, the Kenya Medical and Dentists Board has powers to punish its own members when they've engaged in malpractices, but the judges don't have that. You know what I mean? We don't have that. You just have to go to the next appellate, and if the next appellate is equally as bad, and then you go to the last one, and that's why you see right now a matter goes to a judge, the rules that are given way, Court of Appeal different, Supreme Court different, everything is just like that. So basically we have a problem everywhere, and I think there's need to look at these things in its entirety. Ringera did try to do a very good job those cases. So that also, some people tell you there's an element of witch hunt.
All right.
But then what do we do now?
Thank you. We need to take a short break right now. It's ticked up to 7 o'clock on the nose. We take a short break. When we circle back, we shall look at, of course, the appointment of the former CS Treasury, that is Henry Rotich, who had declined that particular appointment by the president to be his presidential advisor on matters economy, and what it does really portend for his case that we see has now fallen through the cracks because of lack of credible evidence that was presented by the Director of Public Prosecution. So take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we'll continue with that. And Raila is cautioning against the security legislation here. He says Office of the National Security Advisor is an attempt by the Kenya Kwanza to create a new national security organ outside the provisions or the provision of the Constitution. I will tell you more about that also on the other side of a break.